Hello and welcome to another episode of the Just Start podcast with me, Tim Chase, and my special guest, the podfather himself, Sam Thomas. How are you, my man?
Hey, I'm very good. I'm very good. Feels very strange sitting on the other side of the microphone, right? But
So you're
excited to be
100
here.
episodes
Excited to
in.
be
Yeah,
here.
man. Yes, you're 100 episodes in of the Different Hats podcast. I'm honoured to be one of the guests. We cried on it, so hopefully I won't make either of us cry again. But yeah, tell me, so how many episodes are you up to now?
Monday will be episode 110. So yeah, we're cracking on. Yes, it was nice. The 100th episode sort of was kicking off series 7 really. So which has been awesome. And yeah, I'm back to releasing a new episode every week. So yeah, we're moving towards the 200 hopefully at some point. But yeah, mate, it's been it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Yes, man. And you've always got a smile on your face. I'm sure there's some tough times for you there. I'm sure we'll go through in a little bit. But
Yeah,
you're obviously the founder of Firm Balls,
yeah.
the great name of a business, by the way. The first one, mate, and you gave me a business card that said Firm Balls, and I'm like, I'm not sure what the business. And you went, no, is it five-a-side or six-a-side tournament for businesses,
Five and
right?
six, yeah, five and six aside. Do golf, pool, and yeah, networking through sport. But yeah, when you're known as Mr. Fernballs, I don't know how that goes down. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll go with that.
As long as your missus says it as well, then you're fine. You've also got the County Business Club magazine. Tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we've got county business clubs. It's basically a business clubs that help share company stories. So we've got a business publication, SBT, that's been going for 50 years this year. I haven't been running that long, obviously. But yeah, I took it over in 2017. I do host a radio show and we do events, but all around storytelling. So getting people exposure and across different media platforms. And obviously the podcast sort of sits underneath that as well.
So, is there anything else I've missed, firstly? Is there any other businesses that I've missed?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it, mate. There's always a few
Uh,
things in the
yeah,
background,
yeah.
but we'll leave them for another day.
So, before we get into all that, can you tell me a little bit about your sort of background, childhood, as much as
Yeah.
you want to share, kind of, and see if we can pull apart the bits where you were like that, you kind of went off in the kind of an entrepreneur, because you are a true entrepreneur. You have got a number of businesses. You are a true entrepreneur. So, let's see if we can find the moment that you kind of went off on that entrepreneurial route and how kind of young you were. So it was really interesting to hear.
Yeah, sure. Started out, I was a boy who grew up in Dagenham with an amazing family. Got my older brother and just surrounded by unconditional love. It was amazing. I had an incredible childhood. I was into sport. That was my thing. Pretty much whatever I put my hand to, I was okay at. Never brilliant, but okay at. Football was always the thing. Like most young lads, that was the dream. Going to be a footballer. I weren't actually that bad either, to be fair. So I had a couple of trials, never quite worked out. I didn't. I think when I got to about 16 and realised I wasn't going to make it, I just lost my way. Didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
That was the honest truth. I had no. It was up until 16, 17. Stayed on and done A levels, which I failed. No interest there really. Wasn't great at school, to be honest. Unless I was playing football or tennis or running or badminton or any sport in general, I weren't overly interested. So nothing. I come out of school and just I say bummed around. I was always a grafter. I was grafting since I had a milk round when I was like 10 and getting up before school and going and delivering milk like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was always a grafter. So hard work never frightened me, but I just didn't have any direction. We went to the worst school in the borough in Dagenham. You come out and the careers officer were like, well, get a trade or do this, and nothing really appealed to me. I guess the only thing I started to pinpoint the entrepreneurial thing because my favourite programme was Only Fools and Horses growing up, right? I was,
I thought you classed Del Boy as an entrepreneur, but maybe was the first entrepreneur.
maybe he was. I just loved it. I loved the whole thing and buying and selling stuff, and I found it fascinating. It was my favourite thing to growing up. So I think that was probably the first thing that dipped into it. But I then just looked into other things. I had a crappy job in admin up in London that I'd done for a few years. I spoke to someone about it the other day. Actually, I was working with this guy. We was like admin, like in the facilities management side of stuff, right? So we was delivering mail and stuff. And I remember sitting opposite this guy. I was only like 21, 22 at the time, and he was 50 or something. And he was like, and we used to sit there and literally hardly do anything all day. It was so mind numbing. But he was like, look, if you stick with me, brother, he went, we can be here together forever. And I'm like, it's just,
No.
you know, you just like, you sit there and look at it, and I just was like, this is my worst nightmare. I've got to get out and I've got to go and do something.
This episode of Just Start is powered by Alloy Collectors. Football fans, it's time to level up your merch. Alloy Collectors transforms football jerseys into premium metal collectibles, because true fans deserve more than just another scarf or mug. Get 15% off with code JUSTSTART and grab a limited edition Just Start X Alloys tee. Plus, score a chance to attend a private exclusive event with some of the biggest names in UK football.
So I started looking into stuff, and that's when I got into hairdressing. I started about 24, 25, just got married, and I'm like, I'm in this sort of dead-end job, really. I've got to get out. I want to do something. So I had a thing in hairdressing. My granddad had a barber's, my uncle was a barber. I was like, oh, this could be cool for me. I was getting my hair cut in Tony and Guy. I did have hair at the time, so I'm getting my hair cut in Tony and Guy, and I'm like, this is a bit of me. I always loved fashion, so I was like, this is a bit of me. So I spoke to him and I said, oh, can I come on and get involved? And they was like, look, if you start as a trainee, the money's obviously low and you're nearly 25, but you seem like a good people person, maybe be front of house and we can do your training on the side. And actually I was playing semi-professional football at the time. I was on contract at Thamesmead, so I was getting a few quid for that, and they ended up, the owners of the Tony and Guy Lakeside sort of catered my shifts around football, so I could train twice a week, play midweek games and play on a Saturday, and I just had to work every Sunday. So got into hairdressing, thought, yeah, this is the thing for me, I'm gonna do it. And we've all got our skill sets in life. I found out hairdressing was not one of mine. As if you ever get a chance to speak to me missus, she's probably still got some scars where I burnt her when I was trying to blow dry her hair. But I loved being in the industry, and I worked at London Fashion Week, and I loved being within the industry. But I just weren't great at it. But it was, I would say for me, it was that time that there was a shift. There was a shift for me. So like, I started reading a lot of entrepreneurial books, Duncan Bannatyne, Richard Branson, all of those type of books, and I was like, this is the route I want to go on. I want to start my own business. I think going back to when I was younger, having bit of wheeling and dealing at school, or just being within that environment, watching Only Fools and Horses, that type of thing, that just sparked something in me. And I looked at it and was like, I didn't care at that time, but I just wanted to run my own business. If all these people can do it, like the Duncan Bannatynes and Richard Branson, they can do it, why can't I do it? Why I'm so passionate about trying to educate and teach the next generation about entrepreneurship, I look at my school, and growing up in Dagenham, I couldn't spell entrepreneur. I still probably can't now, but I had no idea what an entrepreneur was. Right? No, it wasn't. It was so far removed. Someone who owned their own business is just a rich guy who goes. Like, it wasn't a thing back then when I was at school. So now, obviously, it's much more encouraged and it's spoken about, and that's fantastic. And I'll try and encourage that as much as possible. But it was just the belief that I could maybe start something myself. So I just wanted to run my own business, and I looked at that point, I almost bought a property and got into property, and that didn't quite, I ended up not doing that. I nearly got a coffee van, and then just the coffee van was almost a real thing. I'd done a business plan, I had a van I was looking to go into, I worked a couple of days in London, and then the opportunity come up to take on my own salon in 2010. It was an Essentials, a part of the Tony and Guy group. And that was down in Brighton, and that was, I guess that was my first business, and that's where it started, that entrepreneurial journey. I just turned 30, took over a salon in 2010, ran it for 3 years, an amazing experience, brought me to Brighton, absolutely incredible experience, but didn't work out. I lost money, I had to sell my house.
Wow.
It was a tough time. It was a really tough time. But I talk about that. I still remember, because I wasn't cutting hair, bear in mind. So I was out networking, and I was out building my network then. And I was so lucky to meet some incredible people at that early stage in my career, I guess. The second I shut that salon, there was just opportunities there for me, right? I remember all my pals back in Essex, even my wife was like we're gonna head back now, like, we've had to sell the house. We're gonna have to maybe move back in with your mum and dad, or go and rent back in Essex, and like this business thing ain't quite worked out. And I'm like, no. This is just a start. I said, like, there's opportunities here. I know it's not great, and we were not in a brilliant place financially, but we didn't have kids, and I was like, look, something will come up. And I just had so many different opportunities at that point. Like Fernballs was one of them. I'd done a big pitch to Tony Moscolo himself. Although I didn't cut hair, what I'd done is put together at the salon, I'd put together a shave academy. So I was training people how to do wet shaving. So I didn't know how to do. I trained in that, put a course together. I was training other Tony and Guy salons how to do it. Basically, I was going to revolutionise the barbering industry within Tony and Guy, and I went and done my big Dragon's Den pitch to him, and they was like, yeah, this is a great idea, we just don't need you to do it, and we're going to go and do it.
Cheers.
Which is fine, no problem,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But so I had that as an opportunity, so they still endorsed me to go and do some training for other salons around the country, which I did do for a bit, but then Fernballs come up as an opportunity. And I got offered, although I'd done this pitch to like Label M, which was the Tony and Guy hairdressing range, they was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this thing with you, but almost they offered me a job as a sales rep. And I was like, I had all these opportunities, and the one thing I didn't want to do was go and be a sales rep. But Kelly, my wife was like, and my dad was like, how did you get on that interview? You could, 60 grand a year or whatever, and company car. What a great opportunity. I'm like, yeah, I don't fancy that, to be fair.
No.
But I think once you know it probably more than most, like once you've started on that journey and you work for yourself, I'm probably become unemployable. You know what I mean? I just think, I've always said, if I had to put food on the table and I had to go and get a job, I'd go and do it, because I'd have to put food on the table and I'd do that. But I'd like to think I've got enough about me I'd figure something out. I've always made money. I'll figure a way out, So I think that was it. And then Fernballs, I took over that from Ahmed, and I grew it. We had a couple of leagues running through the summer. I took that into a thing that grew nationally. We had leagues all over the country, London, Manchester, Birmingham. Grew it to 20 odd venues over the next 11 years of running that. And that's so I was on that path, I guess. And then I took over SBT in 2017 and built a business club on the back of that, and then the podcast in 21. I just got hooked on podcasts, really. Like it was, during lockdown, really, it sparked. I started listening to them, and I just thought it was fascinating. I loved the conversational style of them, and how you could absorb content and feel part of that conversation. And as you can tell, for this first 10 minutes, I love a chat. So I'm
Just don't need any guests, though, do you? Just crack on by yourself.
But I guess that was for me, and I just loved it. I just thought, well, if I can get people on and have that conversation, can I create something? And it's just been, in all honesty, it's probably been the thing that's changed my life the most. The podcast. I've had the opportunity to speak to some incredible people, yourself included, obviously, and just have people come on and share their experiences and be really open and honest and authentic. And I mean, what I've learned, I never went to university, but what I've learned in these last 3 years, I would say there's like 10 degrees in there. Do you know what I mean? Because so much knowledge from so many incredible people. So I guess that's where I am now. And like I said, 100 episodes in, I'm still running a business club. Fernballs is still running, so I still try and keep the plate spinning, keep the hats up in the air, I guess. But thing for me, I love what I do. And whatever I teach the kids, and my main message to anyone really, do something that lights you up. Do something that lights you up, that you love doing, because that's if we get to the end of our days and we look back and you go, God, I spent that time in a job. Like I look back at that guy, I could imagine if I was still there. You know what I mean? 25 years time sitting there, just making a cup of tea, walking around delivering some mail. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of like doing a job like that. It's not, but not for me. I want to live this life, which is an opportunity, right? Live it to the max, I guess, and that's what I try and do.
Yeah, I think our journeys and things are quite similar. In fact, we tried things and we've always got an idea going that's almost bursting to get out of us. I think that's where we're quite similar. You mentioned then that I sort of picked up on, which is obviously as parent, you and I are both fathers, and I think or I certainly me, are always trying to make sure, am I bringing up my kids with the core values? In fact, with me and the missus spoke about it on Saturday night. We're like, are we bringing up our kids the core values, not necessarily just to us, because it's important that they're our core values, but they're important to the kind of outside world. And for me, it's making sure they feel loved unconditionally all the amount of time. And no matter what they do, we've got their back. Hard work. And those are the two main things, and kindness as well. So I think when you said that I did you did a milk round when you were 10 before school, it suddenly hit me that you obviously done a podcast with loads of people that are successful, and we'll talk about the reframing success and what that means. But every person I've spoken to, I'm very fortunate that I've got business partners in Gilberto Silva and Roberto Carlos, and have met some unbelievable people, regardless of what they do. And everyone that's made that elite stage has always had that early start to life where they had a job before school. You know, Roberto had to work on the family farm at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before school. Gilberto gave up football to help his mum, who was incredibly ill. And it seems like that kind of early the earlier you can instill that work ethic on your children is key to going through. But also the other thing that drew me, it's the first thing he said was, I came up in an amazing family and I felt super loved. Same as me. My parents are still together. 40 odd years, how much they talk, I don't know. But I felt my childhood, we didn't have like loads of money or anything like this, but the amount of love that was in the family, I feel, from what you said, I feel that gave me the confidence that no matter what I tried and no matter what I failed at, I'd still be loved. And I wonder if you feel maybe that's kind of part of it. The amount of love and support you have with your family has given you the freedom in your later life to just try anything.
Mate, 100%, that. I think there's so much in that nurturing thing. And like my mum and dad, like they're not entrepreneurial in any way, yet they taught me my values, right? They taught me to be kind. They taught me to be a good person. And any of the things that I've got, like I've built this huge network of people, not by having any major skill set, other than the fact that I like people and I love chatting. I'm curious about other people, and I'd like to say I'm probably pretty good at building relationships. So that only comes from being loved myself and feeling like I'm enough, and being surrounded by that growing up. And no matter what's happened in my life and some tough times that I have been through and some dark places I've been in, that's what's got me through, right? The fact that I'm surrounded by so much love. And I do think there's something so important, like the message that parents can give to their kids is that follow your dreams, believe in yourself, but no matter what, you're loved. And it's not about achievement. It's not about ticking off these lists and these goals that you got. Just you're loved, and do things that light you up. They're the things that if you can live in alignment with those values, you're winning.
Yeah, I watched, listened to a really interesting interview Kobe Bryant did a few years ago now. And he said that when he was, let's say, 12, he went a whole season playing basketball without scoring a point. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly do that. And do you know what I mean? There's like 60 or 70 odd points per team in the game of basketball. So you can go a whole season of 20 odd games without scoring. And he said that he had a really important chat with his dad. And his dad said to him, no matter if you're the next Michael Jordan or if you never play basketball again, I will not love you any different. And he said that gave him the freedom. Don't start crying again because you'll set me off. That gave him the freedom to then go on and go, do you know what? There's almost like a bank. I've got that love there. And no matter what I do, my father will always love me. It's going to give me goosebumps. Yeah. And the next season, 2 seasons later, he became the best player at his age in the country, in America, by working his butt off. And I think that's so important. That's what I literally repeat that sentence to my oldest son. He's trying to talk to my 5-year-old is quite hard because he's always on transmit and rarely on receive. But my 12-year-old is going for that adolescence kind of puberty hitting phase. And I said to him, look, no matter if you're the next Mbappe or Cristiano Ronaldo, or if you do something that you just love, it does not affect how much I love you at all. There's no correlation between success and my love for you, mate.
Mate, honestly, there's so much in it. So much so, actually. You talk about. I'll share something with you. I've not really launched or anything yet, but it's just something I'm playing around with at the minute. You talk about different business ideas. I do something for the kids every day. I've done it for about a year now. I love drawing, and I do one of my A levels I failed was art, but I'm okay, you know what I mean. I can draw, and I love the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. So I often print stuff on my jumpers,
Yep.
and I do them drawings. So every day for the last year or so, I'll do a little drawing and a little message that goes into the kids' lunch boxes. And I've just played around with this idea. Someone was like, "Such a lovely idea, you should put that out there." So anyway, I played around. I've set up something called little lunchbox letters, right? And it's the things that we're talking about. What if, like, so they get a message around resilience, they get a message around love, they get a message around following their dreams. All of there's loads of little things that I've put into these different elements, and I'll do a little drawing and a little story that goes with it and a little quote that goes in their lunchbox every single day. And I'm trying to go, what happens if I do a book or something like that and I'll give it to everyone and all the parents all do that, and the message we're giving that next generation is that, right, that they are loved no matter what. We reframe success in a way for kids that you're loved and that is enough. You're enough just as you are. Doesn't mean that you don't set goals, doesn't mean that you don't try and achieve, but whether you achieve that or not, you are still loved. And we create that. And I'm passionate. I'm passionate that if we create a world like that and we teach that next generation the things that me and you are talking about that we do with our kids now, if everyone's doing that, what does that look like later on in life? What would the mental health crisis that we're in now, that does start in that young, does that affect that later on? I believe it could.
I think that's a fantastic idea, mate. And I wonder if actually giving the parents the tools could be the way to do that, rather than it's a book where you tear something out that you've drawn and you've written and you put it in. But it's something, right, just draw a stick man and just send, or just even write something. I really believe that sometimes as parents, we just don't know what to do. And we're almost paralyzed by not knowing what to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a little bit of advice like that is, if it's a book where you just go, right, today's this, it's World Book Day or whatever, write something in there related to books. Do you know, giving something parents the tools to do, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I think, and look, it might be that I just share my stuff out there. I don't even know if I do a book. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. I do it for the kids anyway. And someone just so I started posting a little thing. So I don't know where we're going, but I do think that there's something in it. And even if it is that I share all the stuff I'm doing, and it just inspires someone to write their own message, they can bespoke it themselves, draw it themselves if they don't draw, whatever. I just think if the messages that we're giving to kids are around that, I just think that next generation, because it's a scary world, right? Growing up at the minute with social media, AI, and all them things. And me and you spoke about it on the podcast, didn't we? When you come on, about how often we're on our phone and we're 1 minute, and you know what I mean. There's so many distractions for us, and it's only getting worse with AI. So there's so many of these distractions that how do we create something more where that human connection, where parents and kids really bond. So one of the things I'm doing is when there's little questions as well at the end of the thing. So they take their message to school, and then when we sit around the table at dinner at night, I'll ask them a question about what was the message today? How did that make you feel? Or if it's about kindness, for example, what did you do that was kind today? And just try and create conversation to build that human connection and that real close connection on a deeper level, maybe. Like I said, who knows? I just think that I truly believe that we're in this massive, massive crisis at the minute, and one of the things I'm passionate about is reducing that suicide rate, and especially amongst men, and trying to encourage that. I do think that I can keep hosting this podcast, and I can keep doing stuff where I'm having them conversations like me and you had, and we went deep, and you talk about them type of things, and that helps other people, and I think we can help there. But to really change it, do we start when they're younger? I think maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think with it's a world where everybody's judged. Do you know what I mean? You post something on social media, and you can post a lovely thing, and suddenly someone says a little bit negative, and you don't think about, do you know what, I enjoyed creating that post, and it was intended to create joy with other people. And all it takes is one comment from somebody else to completely destroy it and change the narrative of what you wanted to do, and almost makes you go, do you know what? I'm not going to do it. I can't be bothered to do that because all the energy I put into that, what's the point? And I think that the judgment these young kids do paralyzes them and puts them in a massive fear of failure to these young people nowadays that, do you know what, I'm not going to start a YouTube channel if that's what I want to do. I'm not going to start a YouTube channel because Mr. Beast has got 400 million views on his last video and I'm never going to get that. They don't understand that Mr. Beast posted, I think it was like 100 videos before he even got more than 1,000 views. And it's taken him 10, 15 years to get to this point of being the biggest YouTuber in the world. And I think it's understanding that you never start as an expert. And that's probably where the background thing about it, where this Just Start podcast is coming from, is actually you're never going to start being an expert. The first time Cristiano Ronaldo kicked a football ever, he wasn't the best footballer in the world, right? When the first time Richard Branson decided that he wanted to start a plane company, he probably wasn't a pilot. Well, he maybe might have been, but he wouldn't have been an expert in business. You've got to start the business. It's like when you learn to drive. I don't think you really learn to drive. You get your driving license and you can get out in the big wide world in your car. I don't think you actually learn to drive until you pass your test. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, no, I really agree. And there's something in that setting yourself. I think Bruno said it to me when he came on the podcast. He was saying about, I wanted to be the best footballer in the world and I set my sights up there, but I didn't make that, but I still played a football career for 20 years doing something I loved. So although you set your sights up there and that's fine, and even if you don't reach them, that's still success if you've got somewhere on the line, but you've got to start somewhere, right? You've got to start somewhere and you've got to have that, and again, back to the thing, if you're surrounded by love and all of them key things, you're on a path to doing it, I think.
So what was your moment where you just went, do you know what, I've done all the plans, I've done all the research, do you know what, I've just got to go. I almost feel like it's in my DNA, and if I don't do it, it almost feels physically painful if I have an idea and I don't do it. Can you sort of highlight or remember the moment where you just went, I've just got to go for this, whether it was Firm Balls or the podcast?
Yeah, I think probably it's hard because I guess on my business journey, like the salon, it was a franchise, so there was always that I had that bit of support, and I was in that arena. I knew at that point, I guess I just wanted it. Like I said, I just wanted to start a business. Didn't care. Didn't start a salon because I thought I really want to run a hair salon. I just wanted to start a business, and I was in the industry, so I knew it. Probably one of the reasons it didn't work out, along many others. But that was it. I just wanted to do this thing. And then the next thing, Fernballs had already started, and I just took that over. And then the other bits and pieces. I guess the main thing, like the podcast, was definitely a key point for me. Just going, I just, like I said, I was obsessed with listening to stuff like Diary of a CEO, High Performance. I just found them so fascinating. And I was like, I've just got to do this, just got to start. And I started, like me and you are now online here. I'm sitting in my loft. This is where I started mine. Like my first one with Bradley Hatchett, sitting there doing this. Then I obviously done the studio and stuff like that. But I just wanted to start, and I think that's what you're doing is brilliant, because it's such a brilliant message to go people that are thinking about that idea, thinking about something that they want to do. You can think about it for a long time. You're at the best way to find out whether it's going to work or not. Just start it. Just give it a go.
Yeah. Great. Well, there's the clip for the social media to announce the podcast.
I fed that.
Yeah. I can see there's experience podcasting going on here. So let's talk about your podcast. Let's talk about the podcast. What is the podcast about? Because then it's going to explain our conversation. Where we go.
Yeah, but it's developed into something more than I ever dreamed it would be. Right, when I first started out, I'm going to start a business podcast. We're going to talk about business, but I wanted to highlight, because I'd had some struggles in business. I wanted to highlight some of the struggles that we face and how that affects perhaps our personal lives as well, and where that sort of sits. So that was the initial thing. It went from being a business podcast to let's just talk about life, because we started talking more about that. I still generally, I guess the core people that are on the podcast are entrepreneurs or business owners, or within the business ecosystem that I work within. But it's developed into something more than I dreamt it would be. And now the main thing is about reframing success. My own journey was, we talked about me starting out when I was at the salon, success was I'm going to be a millionaire watching the Only Fools and Horses this time next year. That was my driver. That was my goal. From 30 to 40, I'd run the salon that hadn't worked out. I'd run Fernballs for that period of time. I'd taken over SBT, but I wasn't that millionaire, and that's where it fell down for me. That's where I went for someone like you said. I'm always smiling, and I'm an eternal optimist, and I'm excited. I was in a dark place, but what got me out of that was the reframing of success, because to me, success was the people I'd read the books about, the Richard Bransons and that, multi-millionaires. Got to be, when I'm a millionaire, then I'm going to be successful. Then I'm going to be enough. Then I'm going to build it. And my measure was based on that financial thing, and it was, it was. I don't know if I can swear, but it was bullshit. And then back to the feeling of what got me through that period was the fact I was loved unconditionally and surrounded by people who loved me. People in the business community, my wife, my kids, my pals from Essex, my mum and dad, my brother, I was surrounded. And if the measure of success was based on relationships, and that's how I measured it, mate, I'm having it off. I'm the most successful person I know. And so much of it developed into that. So the podcast was all around how we can reframe success, and I ask everyone how they define it. And the 100th episode was a culmination of that, of the brilliant minds that have been on the podcast that shared their definition of success, and I tried to compare that to what the dictionary definition is, and how much of 99 people I'd spoke to before had aligned with that, and not one person aligns with the dictionary definition. So something needs to change there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic message. I think I'm running a startup, and which comes with its stresses and things, and it's probably been the last 20 months have been the most stressful of my life. But after coming back from your podcast, where we talked, was what does success look like for you? And I think I said it was that my family want to be around me, and I think that gets you through. And if you have, like you said, my children at the moment, with what we're going through, we've actually kind of reverted back and going, right, money isn't the most important thing in the world. What we're bringing up, the little people around us, are the most important things. And I could not be closer and have a better relationship to Ellen and my other half at the moment, because we're so open and honest, and we're in this battle together. And the children, because we're going, look, whatever happens with the business happens. Yes, we're going to keep working our butts off to make it happen. But the more important thing is we don't miss this time that we've got with a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old, who are all going through their own individual journeys in life. We can't miss those journeys, because if we look back in 5 years' time, when we're all flying around in our private jets and getting a helicopter to our yachts or whatever, what's been the sacrifice for that? The sacrifice of that is we've missed our little daughter growing up. We've missed our 2 other boys growing up. We've missed a part of it. And then what we want to be part of when we're older, that we're building this kind of business for, is so that they have the opportunities that we didn't necessarily have, and bring them a great style of life. Well, we've missed that connection. So there's no point skipping that connection for 5 years that you build in the first 5 years of a child's life, or in important parts of their life. And we've missed out on that, and we're distant from our kids, and we're just, we have no relationship with our family. It was a real important moment for me coming on your podcast and going, right, look, well, business is hard, yeah, and we've got some struggles, but we've got 3 kids that love us dearly. We love each other so much. A lot of billionaires and millionaires I know would love to be in our situation. We'll probably give most of what they've earned to get into that position.
Mate, 100%, and that's lovely to hear as well that you took that away. And yeah, like I said again, we spoke about it when you come on, and you're building something so special, and you're building something that is gonna make the world a better place, right? That's how I see it. From what you're creating, you're trying to make the world a better place. What a brilliant thing to do, right? And I think there's that balance. Like, one of the key pillars I talk about in my framework of success is balance, is one of them, right? And there is a balance between that, because what the kids see by you going out and following your dreams and doing something you are, I think there's something really special about that. You're inspiring them. They're seeing you do something that you love, and they're seeing you do something that lights you up and that's got purpose and drive and all of them things. So that's inspiring. So they're seeing you as an inspiration. But at the same token to that, they want to know who you are as well. So you've got to try and get that time to be around and be in. And we talked about it. The key is presence, right? Being in the moment when you are. Don't mean that you can't do an 18-hour day some days, that you might have to do. Might be that you're travelling and you're away for a bit, and okay, that's fine. But actually, when you're there with them in that moment, make sure you are there with them in that moment. And I'm guilty of it, not doing it. I'm still guilty of it. I still question myself about it. I still go, try and pull myself up on it when I'm there with them. And I'm, 1 minute, just sending this email. 1 minute, just checking LinkedIn. 1 minute, no. Fucking hell, Sam, put that down.
Yeah.
I'm here, come on. Let's sit down. Let's do a drawing together. Let's go and kick the football about, whatever that looks like, but be in that moment. So and that's a journey for all of us, right? I think it's an ongoing thing of trying to get that balance right. I do think there's great things in both elements for them to see that you're passionate and you're doing the things you're doing, and that's okay still. I'm not going to be around all the time, but when I am around, I'm trying to be the best I can.
I sort of talk about entrepreneurs' balances, and I've actually done a post about it, that there is no balance. In fact, you've just got to become aware that there is no balance. One day you might be traveling for 24 hours and you don't see your kids for 3 or 4 days, or you've suddenly got something so urgent, because it's like when you run your own business, it's a war every day. There's always someone who's trying to destroy you. Being aware that there probably is no balance to it makes you try to balance it. And balance isn't you finish work at 6 o'clock and then you're with them till 7 o'clock, whatever. It's if you've done an 18-hour day, you've got to counter that by spending 18 hours with them. That's kind of how I kind of view things. I go, right, I've worked my butt off this few days. This is now family time. My phone's physically in another room, and we'll do something. The other thing I want them to do is do everything that you do it with passion. And my daughter is me, and we love a side quest. So we try to do something and we get on a side quest. And the side quests are kind of my favourite thing. So we were watching what were we watching? We were watching something on, I don't know, YouTube, just messing around to get an idea of building. I think we were building I don't know, my 5-year-old saw something called a diorama, and he wanted to build a diorama. I'm like, let's have a look at, Daddy's going to go and watch a video and find out what diorama is. And it was like building this volcano that erupts with baking pad. I'm like, I think Mummy might have something to say about that. Let's leave that alone. But anyway, we got on a side quest of pizza, and they're like, "Oh, Daddy, you got a pizza oven? How do we make pizza?" I'm like, "Well, we go on Amazon and order some dough." And they go, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Let's not really get Amazon ordering it." I'm like, "Do you know what? Let's make it." And that was about 4 weeks ago. Now, mate, I'm gonna have to invite you around. I make the best pizza dough. It takes 48 hours, but I think that's what they love about me. Everything I do is done with passion and energy. So we made 7 pizzas on Sunday, and everyone's waddling around the house like massive gluten bellies. But they see that I do everything with passion, and I think it's important for them to see me as a fatherly figure. Yes, I'm the discipline. I do the major bollockings are administered by me.
Yeah.
And it's important that they know the boundaries, but they also need to know there's love and there's passion in there. And I think you and I are the similar thing. We've pretty much got a smile on our face. Always want to help other people. But I think what I recognised with my 12-year-old a few years ago is that he knows I love him, and his mum and I aren't together anymore. And I think when he comes to me, he just wants it to be me. He's kind of wanted to be with me for 2 or 3 days, and now he's with me. And when he has a mate come around or somebody's come around, I sort of give them some attention, make sure they feel welcome. And I noticed that that's when he became a bit distant. And I was like, okay, he needs to know that the first point of call is him. Once he's happy, then I'll go and talk to other people. I want to, show you the love, as we've said in the first 10 minutes. I need to show him the love, and then I can move on.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think you're right with the balance thing. It's so hard to get it right, and last I think it was Rob Starr who shared the best thing for me was where you go, there is no balance really, like you said. There's life, right, and everything's in there, and it's just some days you get up and you go, I'll get to the end of my day and I go, I've probably been like, I might have started, I might have done a breakfast networking event. I've gone and done a podcast, and then I've had to host another event in the evening. So I might not have seen the kids that day. So, don't get me wrong, I've moved the business forward that day, and I've probably been a pretty good businessman. But I've not been a great father. But the next day, I might, because I still haven't missed one assembly, I still take the kids to school, I still pick them up a lot of the time. So you go, that day, I might have then taken them to school, I haven't missed a meeting because I've gone to an assembly, or I've cancelled meetings, and I've made sure I'm there to pick them up and take them to football. So I've been a better dad. Not been probably a great businessman today, but I've been a great father. And I think we do the best we can with what we've got on that day. Go to bed at night and go, you know what, I've done okay today with what was in front of me. What I had in front of me today, I've done the best I can, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that clip from Rob, and it made me think about things as well. I think it said some days, you know, I get up and I go, I don't want to work today. I want to go and hang out with my kids. Sort of that sort of equivalent. I'm like, that's beautiful. And I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You can do that. And if you go, do you know what? I think we're always analysing ourselves as well. We're always analysing the business, how we can put it through. But I think it means we're self-reflective and go, do you know what? And we can talk to each other ourselves honestly and go, do you know what? I haven't spent enough time with my missus for about a month now. We've always been the business and the kids, and because my other half works for the same company, all we do is talk about work. I'm like, let's go. Should we have a pizza? Let me go and get one of the pizza. Let's sit in the garden, have a glass of wine, and let's just chat as if it was a date in the garden. You know, do you know what I mean? And I think I think that's one of the good things about being an entrepreneur. One, we can be honest with ourselves because we're honest with all our parts of the business. And if something isn't working, there's no kind of feelings behind it. We go, let's chop it out. And I think we can be sort of self-reflexive and quite honest like that. And the beauty of being an entrepreneur, by the way, I hate that word, being an entrepreneur is that you can go, do you know what? Bollocks to it. I'm spending the day with my kids.
Yeah, mate, 100%. And we do have the choice. And look, and there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be times where you've got to get something to a deadline. You've got to do something. You know, you've scheduled something in. You're hosting a big event. You put a lot of work and everything. You can't just go, right, I'm not doing it. But on the flip side to that, there's a day, you know what, we're recording this in the middle of the Easter holidays, right? So it's going to be, there's balancing, there's juggling, there's all sorts going on, and you go, but am I there for every day of the Easter holidays this time? No, but I am there for half of it, and I'm going to make sure that we take them out. So when I'll get as much work as I can done this week, next week, I'll be with them, and I'll hopefully give them a good time, and we'll go from there. So,
yeah. It's like not spreading yourself too thinly through work. You can't do it with your family either. You know, if you spend let's do something with the kids and you're checking your phone or you're not really committed to it, you've got to be fully in there, and it's quality over quantity.
100%. And like I said, even when we talk, like I still struggle with it. I still make them mistakes, and I think I'm not perfect, and I do. You know, I talk about this a lot, and I'm trying to live an authentic life, and I know that I'll preach about certain things a lot, and I'll have to question myself sometimes. Go, what? You know what? I'm not here. I am sitting there just checking my phone when I don't need to be. So trying to pull myself up on that, and it's a learning curve for all of us, right? It's a journey. We're navigating it, and we're again just back to trying to do the best you can.
So out of the 100 episodes you've done, has there been a common theme where there's been a trait or something where you've gone, do you know what? This is what connects everybody.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, that was the thing with the 100th episode, putting it together, was exactly that. We actually used AI, which was brilliant. So I transcribed everybody's episode and we fed it into AI, created a rubrics, we created these like a questionnaire to get these common themes that did sort of come through. And we got some great stuff. And that's what's come of that almost has been this framework that I've started to put together, which is my framework of success based on the conversations I've had on the podcast. So we sort of broke almost the episode, and everything got broken down into these 5 things, which balance being one of them, authenticity being another one, presence, fulfillment, and relationships. They're the 5 elements that everyone talked about, that pretty much everyone alluded to within their definition of success, or within the conversation we had around success. It was based around those 5 elements. And again, it's a work in progress at the moment, like for the book that I'm trying to put together, but almost like this framework is like, how do we maybe measure those elements in our lives? What questions can we ask to get a score out of that, so that actually if we are measuring those things and they're all doing all right, maybe that is real success, and that's where we're going. And none of that's to do with how much money you've got in the bank. And I'm not saying, I'm not always conscious. I'm not saying that I think money's a bad thing. I don't. I think it's a great thing. And actually, the more money we make, potentially the more impact we can have. That's not my driver. That's not what drives me. And actually, when you listen to the people I've had on, the Chris Goodmans, for example, Kevin Byrne, the people who have made more money than we ever know what to do with, both of them, as two examples, were realised that they'd achieved all their financial dreams, and yet there was no purpose, fulfilment. They're the things that they'd sacrificed things that, again, family time and stuff like that, and they'd missed out on that, being present. And like Chris's one, we released on World Mental Health Day because he talked about getting all that money but feeling anxious, depressed. You know what I mean? Like, so if that, we know that message is out there, and I've got this framework now from these people. This is what we should be looking for. I think if we can look for these 5 elements in our lives and they align with our values, where maybe we're creating a world that helps to reduce this mental health crisis. Maybe if we can look at it through that lens, I think would be better.
So I'm going to ask you a weird question, and you might want to take a minute to think about it.
Yeah.
What's your favourite failure?
How long you got? We've got there's loads of failures we could talk about, right? But if that might be another whole 2-hour episode. But I think for me, probably the salon has got to be up there. Like, it was my first business, so my first major failure, I guess, within business, and it didn't work out, and it was quite painful because I had to tell 10 members of staff that they didn't have a job anymore. I lost a lot of money. I had to sell my house. So it was not a good place. But what I didn't come out. I still remember the morning I sat in a coffee shop in Brighton before I went in and had to tell the staff that we're closing, and I read a LinkedIn post that said about the 10 rules of success, and the top rule was accepting and understanding failure. And that for me just helps me to, again, I'm reframing success, but it's reframing failure like as a negative. Like, it is just purely for me, and I think Steve Salis said it on my part. He said, failure, there is no failure, there's only feedback.
Yep.
Brilliant, right? Like, if we just, even schools, if we get back to the changing the narrative for the next generation, if we change that to going, failure is just learning. Failure is just learning. That's the way we learn, by failing, and actually encouraging people to fail. No one wants to, but encouraging that failure is a way of going, this is the big learning curve. This is how we're going to learn from things. And I learnt so much. It was a tough time. 3 years of running that salon. I went through some horrible periods in that time, going questioning myself. I learnt so much about myself, about business, about how to build a network. I closed it, and here I am now, 12, 13 years later, running businesses, building businesses based on the community that I built back then. And it was all because I learned how to, I was a boss then instead of a leader, I think. I got the culture wrong. I went in thinking I needed to be a certain way as opposed to being my back to the pillars, authenticity. Weren't my authentic self. I went in, I can't be friends with you because I'm your boss. Like, you got, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't work. People weren't inspired by that, were they? They said, okay, you're over there, we're over here. So I learned from that. You go, actually, I'm a people person, so I want to get on with people. And yeah, if you work with me or for me, whatever that looks like, we're on a journey together. And I use that now. Like, I learned so much from that, going, people work with me now. I don't ever think, like, anyone that does work with me, they're not my employees. They teach me more than I teach them, probably. So I'm just trying to surround myself with that. So yeah, I'd say probably the salon was, in answer to that question, the salon was probably one of the biggest learning curves for me, just because it was the first one, right? And I learned the hard way, but it was a big failure. But I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now if I hadn't have done that, you know.
You'd still be cutting hair.
Yeah, badly.
So did you realise at the time that this was going to be a positive thing, or were you just kind of so consumed by, did you realise at the time this is going to be an important milestone, or did you have like enough time that you had to kind of grieve before you realised it?
You know what? It was a proper body blow, but I think for me, at the time, like about 18 months in, I felt like the salon wasn't working. I'll be honest with you. About 18 months in, I was like, this ain't happening. And every time I got my nose in front, I got knocked back again, member of staff leave, whatever it was. So I sort of knew. But at 18 months in, I didn't feel that I could have gone, I've done everything I could. I felt like I needed to do. And I did. That's when I set up, 18 months in, I set up the Shave Academy, put that together. And that started to do quite well. And I was like, okay. When I did shave it after 3 years, I didn't grieve that much because I honestly believed, and this is back to that work ethic and hard, I gave everything to that salon. 7 days, for 2 years, I commuted every day from Essex on a motorbike, 7 days a week. I was the first person and the last person to leave every single day. I honestly felt after 3 years, I could not have done any more to make that salon work. And that sat okay with me, right? That was one of the things that I learned from that failure, going, I've done absolutely everything I could, and my best wasn't good enough to make that salon work, and that's fine. But what can I learn from it? And then seeing that post in the coffee shop was a thing going, to be successful, I've got to accept and understand failure. This is a failure. So I don't think there was a long period for me of sitting there going, like feeling down about it. I actually, from shutting that salon in at the beginning of April, so it's actually this month now, in 2013, so 12 years ago in April, I took over Fernballs in the May. So within 6 weeks, within less than 6 weeks, I started that, just because I was like, there's opportunities. One, I wanted to go out and earn some money. I needed to go out and earn some money as well, but it was like, there's an opportunity there, I'm going to go out there and do it. So I think my grieving had probably, from the 18-month period in to 18 months of shutting it down, I think I started to go, and there were periods of that 18 months where the second phase, like the last couple of years, where I was like, I've nailed this. I remember one point, we had beauty on the top floor, I had the Shave Academy on the middle floor, and the salon downstairs, and all three were thriving on one Saturday. And I stood there one minute, I thought, I've nailed this now. I've turned the corner. There were some magical moments like that, few and far between, obviously, but there was still some magical moments there. And I think I took those bits out of it and thought, you know what, I'd created that. I'd gone in and made a difference and made something happen, and I did try my best, but it weren't sustainable. It didn't work. Boom. But I took so much learning. From it, and I think, like, for me, it was a longer period prior to actually just shutting in the April, just kicking off Fernballs. I'd gone, almost forgot about it, but just was like, that's gone now, and I was able to close that. I was able to close that chapter. I'm ready to start my next one. And I think that's the best thing to get to wherever you are in business. It's actually understanding, because I had people around me, Tony's son, who owned Essentials, my business partners were all going, no, we're not showing, we need to, and I'm like, and bear in mind, I was the youngest one in the room, early 30s, and I'm sitting there with these people, but I was like, nah, this ain't right, this ain't gonna happen. It's not. We can chuck more money in now, and we keep it going, and we're going to be in the same problem in a few months. I knew it was the right decision, and I think sometimes it's knowing when to quit. It's knowing when to give it. Like, people could say never give up, don't give up. Sometimes it's knowing now is a good time I need to, and I don't think I was this far along for me. Like, but alignment with values and stuff, I don't think I'd done that work on myself and understood enough about that. But I did know that it was the right thing, and it was 100% the best decision I ever made, because the relief and the weight that was lifted the day I closed that chapter, game changer.
I was literally about to say, was it almost a relief and sense of freedom once you finally kind of close the doors, and you'll be like, now I can actually be creative, because you are creative, and all the ideas you got going around, and that sense of relief.
Oh, massive. I felt almost beholden, because it was a physical building that I had to be in every day as well. It didn't allow me that freedom. I felt trapped, really. I felt trapped in that business. I had to be there to open up. I had to be there to close it pretty much every day. It was rare that I took any time off over that 3 years. It was a huge, huge relief. But not a huge relief. I know some people that have had a huge relief and they go, never do a business again. And they go and work for someone after that. And they go, I've tried that. My brother being one of them. My brother had his own business for a bit, hated it, didn't like it, closed it, come away, and he does really well. He's a sales director, works really well for a company, and he enjoys what he does. Great. But he done that. It was not for him. But I was the complete opposite. I shut it. I was like, God, what have I learned here? I've learned so much from this experience. What can I take on? Let me get my teeth into the next thing. And like I said, at that time, I remember my mum and dad, I remember my dad saying to me, like, God, that interview went like, it was really, I had all these opportunities. And the one thing he was like really excited about was the interview I was going for this sales job. And that was the one I was least excited about. Like,
Yeah, and I think it's a different generation, right? Because my parents
yeah.
were very much the same. So my dad in fact, my dad is a podcaster amongst himself. So he's led the most interesting life of anyone you ever meet. He worked for NASA. He's had dealings with the mafia. He did work for the government. I can't actually say this here, but he's had some unbelievable jobs in his life. My mum was a psychologist, and none of them really entrepreneurs, but my granddad on my mum's side, I remember him telling the story of when he cycled on his bike to Barclays Bank to pay in £100 check to start up his building business, and then before he died, he had this incredibly successful business. I think it's kind of in my genes. But I was going to ask you, so I feel like I've been fighting for Striver for a few years, and in the last 6 months, it seems like everything is falling into place, kind of thing. And do you kind of feel the same thing? Because obviously your energy you bring, and I've had a smile on my face throughout, and every time I'm with you, you bring this positive energy and puts people a smile on your face, which is great for a podcast. Do you kind of feel that with all the three businesses you've got going on, you mentioned storytelling a lot when we first did the conversation. Obviously, you can tell stories in the press, which you have with your magazine. You're literally telling stories in that. Do you feel that now you've got that kind of foundation of the podcast and the other two businesses, that you're now kind of the opportunities are coming to you rather than fighting to find an opportunity or fighting to put an idea out? Actually, you're now almost on the path that maybe God or the universe intended for you, and now the opportunities are coming to you. Because that's certainly how I feel at the moment.
You know what? 100%. I think I shared really openly actually before Christmas, like last December. I wasn't in a good place last December. I got to the end of last year and I looked back and I was like, I don't feel I've moved forward. I don't feel like I'm doing the right thing, and all of them things. That then putting that 100th episode together just gave me so much clarity that I was like, I feel like I'm on the right path now. It was like we spoke about, of like, I almost, if you could have bottled that night, it was gold, pure gold. I was surrounded again by love in that room. My reality and the expectations, reality exceeded my expectations. It was an amazing night. The episode I put together exceeded my expectations. That the guys pieced together, they were Kevin Smith and Jamal Billy. What they put together was incredible. It's given me this direction. It's given me this clarity that I know what my mission is. I know where I'm going. I know what I want to try and achieve. I know what my purpose is. And actually, with all the hats I wear, I'm actually looking at this year going, I'm going to put that hat down. I'm going to put that hat down. And now, but that's an opportunity. Does that align with these values? Does that get me to this mission where I'm going, this clarity I've got here? If it doesn't, that's lovely over there, but I don't want to do it. Or that does align. Like the little lunchbox letters, I've lent into that a little bit in the last couple of weeks, just because I've gone, actually, this really aligns with this end mission, this goal. And maybe that's something I pick up. Maybe it's something that I just do for the kids and I never do anything else with it. Don't know. But it's easier. I think it's easier when you've got that clarity and you go, I know exactly what my values are, what my purpose is, and where I'm going, what I'm building. Maybe that's with you. Like I feel like, because I've sort of seen right from the start with Striver, like where you've gone in different directions and you've pivoted and you've gone here. Oh, we're doing this and this, and it feels like, yeah, especially since I guess you come on the podcast and where you are in these last 6 months, that you creating something so special. That, but like you said, I know exactly what we're doing now. This is it. And then, like you say, I think the other opportunities come from that. So I agree with you. I really feel like this year already I'm in such a good. It's been so lovely. People, I met a mate last night. I was in London last night at Fernballs League, and I met a mate up there for a bite to eat, and he's a bit of a confidant to me, so I'll tell him when I'm feeling shit. But also, it's so lovely at the minute. People going, "How are you?" And I'm authentically going, I'm in a really good place at the minute. Just nothing's really changed. I'll be honest with you, nothing's massively changed financially or anything else like that. The businesses haven't changed a huge amount at the minute, but up there I feel in a great place, and I feel I'm going in the right direction.
You mentioned the 5 pillars. One of them was authenticity. Do you feel like you can now kind of be authentic and you now kind of know what your purpose is? And I always go back to men need to feel like they're valued. And in order to feel valued, you need to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think, do you feel like you now know why you were put here and you have a purpose, which is redefining success? Because that's what you talk about all the time in your podcast and your posts, redefining success. Everything comes back to that. So you can go, do you know, I have a clearer vision of myself as a person, but also the businesses and business that I'm creating. If anything falls outside of that redefining success, it's not important to me now. So like you say, you take that hat off and put it over. Is that kind of maybe part of your happiness? Is that, do you know what? I don't have to go and run and chase 1,000 things.
Yeah.
Things will come to me and I'll think of things, which is redefining the way people view success.
Yeah, mate, nailed it, 100% that, right? I feel in a good place because authentically living a life true to myself, right? That's where I feel I'm at the moment with everything I'm trying to create. And actually, like you said, the podcast is called Different Hats, about all the different things you do, and actually celebrating that. And I think, but actually you can be focused on one thing and do that, still wear different hats, because I'm going to wear a different hat when I'm a father, I'm going to wear a different hat when I'm a husband, when I'm out in the business community, when I'm doing. And I think the level of authenticity doesn't mean being different people, different personas in different environments, doesn't mean you're being inauthentic. There was a really good podcast I've done with a guy called Dr. Graham Curtis, and he talks about, I won't get the guy's name, but a French philosopher called Bourdieu, I think his name was, and talking about habitus and how we go into different environments and we change depending on who we're surrounded by and what it is. And that doesn't mean that you're being inauthentic. And that landed really well with me, because I think we can wear different hats, we can have different personas in different environments and come across in different ways. But back to values, you can act in a slightly different way, but as long as there's still all of those different habitats that you're in are still in alignment with values, we're doing all right.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I kind of find, I've never described it like that. Because obviously you go to a meeting, you have a board meeting, or you go to a pitch, or you speak on stage, or you do a podcast, you're with your family, you're with your mates. Do you know what I mean? It's still, just because you're not talking about the business doesn't mean you're not, or something. Yeah, you can be still being authentic.
Yeah,
It's really interesting.
I think so. It was a really good episode, and it really opened my, because I questioned him about it. I feel like authenticity is really key to me. It's something I'm really passionate about. I want to live an authentic life, whether it's what I post online or when I'm at home, when I'm out face to face in the business community, whatever those things are. I want to live an authentic life. I want to live a life true to myself. And I questioned him on it, and I said, like, how does that? But he mentioned this to me, and this happened. I was like, this is fascinating. He done a whole thesis about it, saying we can. He was from Sunderland, so he said, of course, I'll pick up the phone to my mum in Sunderland, and immediately I'll go into that. Or I'm around friends from Sunderland, I'll go into that. Doesn't mean that because I'm slightly different when I'm down here in Brighton, doesn't mean I'm not being authentic. And I think that really landed well with me and helped me to reframe that a little bit in my head as well.
I'm interested because obviously you have a number of businesses and you've obviously always got ideas going on. What is your kind of, is it, so let's say you wake up in the middle of the night and you have an idea for something, whether it's a product or a business. What's your kind of journey that you go through for going, I'm going to go for this? Because obviously must have had loads of ideas, and 3 of them have actually kind of come to fruition and been the business. Is there, and I'm sure you've got about 20 ideas for businesses already going on in your head. What's the sort of journey, maybe is it a mental checklist where you go, okay, I've got to do this, no, it's not that. Is there a journey that you can recognise that you go on and go, no, I'm going to park that, that's not a great idea? Do you know what I mean? Is there a journey or a mental checklist that you go through?
That's a really good question. I don't know if there is. Again, there's a couple of things for me. Like, it's something that if I come up with an idea and it lights me up, I'm excited about that, then I'll lean into it a little bit, right? Again, little lunch, but I'll lean into it a little bit, and I think, but I'm trying again. I get through a learning curve because I think sometimes I was just, because of how our brains work, we're constantly ideas, and I could take on, oh, this sounds like a good idea. And sometimes you can get really distracted by the shiny stuff over here. And again, this has been a journey for me and a learning progress. But you look at these shiny things over here, I'm trying to go, just because that's shiny over there might not be the right thing for me. Like that idea. And because of how we are often, and there's lots of opportunities. People often say to me, oh, can you do this for us? Or, why don't you get involved? Really want you to get involved in this, especially because of my network. Can you get involved in this? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to do that. Yeah, of course. And then you spread yourself so thin that you're doing a million different things, actually not doing any of them very well. And I think that's where I got to that stage last year, and you sort of go, again, back to what I was just saying prior, and led into it probably quite well, is the fact that it's easier for me now when I've got these million ideas, and I might write something in my journal that night, and I'll get up the next day and I'll go, okay, I really like this, but actually this is not aligning with this. This is not aligning with this mission. This ain't aligned with where I'm trying to get to. This is not going to help me on this stepping stone to get to this end goal. So I'm going to park that. Great idea. Someone else will run with that. There you go. I'll give it to you for free. There you go. You gotta go with that. So I've got to that, and that's probably only a recent revelation for me. I'm getting to that stage where I'm going, it aligns with my values, aligns with this mission we're in. Let's see how I can incorporate that into it. If it doesn't, let's let that go. Get rid of it. Don't need it.
I think it's important. I think it's important, and the power of being honest. And as long as you don't say, no, it's a dreadful idea, I'm never going to get involved in it. If you kind of frame the right way, actually, I've had situations that people go, do you not really appreciate your honesty? I really appreciate honesty. And it happened for me. So when we first had the idea for Striver, we're going to go, do you know what? People are going to love the opportunity to be able to engage with their fans. And like the revenue model was like, do you know, I still cringe when I have this, think about these meetings, the 2 meetings we had. The idea was that you could post on our platform, we'll charge a brand, say Nike, go, right, here you go, Nike, here's a platform, your fans can respond with their own video, and it's just going to cost you 10 grand, and imagine all the data and everything you're going to get from it. And he went, and do you know what I tell you, it was for if you ask any athlete what the most successful team is ever, they will all say this. I can't say who it is. And I basically did this pitch to them. They went, well, why would we pay a startup 10 grand when we could put it on YouTube, get 20 million views and do it for free? I was like, it's a really good point. And like the whole business model was shot to bits. And I was like, oh. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I then pitched to a massive YouTuber and said the same. They've got, I think at the time they had 54 million subscribers on YouTube. So it's an amazing blag getting in front of them in the first place. And they went, why would we pay you to do that when we earn about 150 grand per video on YouTube? Why would we pay you 10 grand? And I went, oh, but they framed it. The reason why I'm saying this, they framed it in such a positively critical way. So they're being not saying it's a dreadful idea. They're saying, look, we like the idea, but you're charging us 10 grand to upload a video. Ain't the way to go, mate. So because they were so honest about it, it actually totally reframed and made us pivot the business into a totally better way. And that was like, we should have, and I was just sitting, and that's why I'm feeling so awkward now, because I remember sitting here and going, it's a really good question. I don't know why you should pay me 10 grand when YouTube pay you 200. But it's understanding. It's what the power of saying no and being honest and saying, look, it's not right for me because of, it doesn't fall into my things are where I want my business to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, one thing I've got is a network of people that it might be, I go, I'm not right for it, but why don't you speak to
100%.
this person over here, this person over here? I'm happy to do that. But I think taking away from what you've just said there's something like to park your ego and your pride to aside when you get feedback like that, because that must have been tough to hear, and like you listen to things like that, and sometimes we keep going down a route because we let our ego take over, and our ego and our pride and all of them things. And the same, like I guess, like back to the salon side of it, like it's just parking that, like this is not right for me, this is not the right thing, it's okay to park that. And when, because again, if you reframe that failure and into something that's I'm just taking on feedback and being self-aware as you were, to be able to take on that feedback. Okay, I take on this feedback, I listen to what they're saying, I'm going to pivot. Doesn't mean that idea, that first idea, like again, back to the whole essence of your podcast, just start. That essence of that idea, just start.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to listen to feedback, get feedback from people, listen to what people are telling you. Not everyone, because sometimes you'll get so much feedback from people that you end up then not doing anything anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have got to start somewhere, but don't be afraid. Fail forward, fail fast, learn from that, and then you can, as long as you're open-minded enough to pivot and change, because I think sometimes that's the thing. People wait so long to go, oh, I'm on this journey, but I really feel if I just keep going down this route. Actually, what happens if you stop now, you changed it and went down this route, maybe that's the right way to go. So,
Well, I think that's really important. I never thought about sort of removing my ego, but I think it's when you have that purpose that we both now have now, you kind of think that there's a greater purpose than just me and my business. I'm doing this for the good of something I have, like whether it's a calling or my life's work or whatever. Actually, it isn't about me. It's about what I'm creating for other people. And if I'm trying to create the platform for other people, and like you're trying to create a platform for people to redefine how they success to improve their lives and feel more fulfilled, and I'm doing it through tech. I think when you feel like you're on a calling, it feels less personal, and that actually feels like another brick to go. And actually, what it does is confirm that that's not the way to do it. And I always think of a no is just getting me closer to a yes.
yeah, I love that. I love that.
So every no I get is if let's say you wanted, I don't know, Gary V to be on your podcast, and you said, right, Sam, you're going to have to get 20 no's, but the 21st time you ask me to be on, you're going to get to say yes.
Yeah.
How quickly would you get through those 20? You'd do it in a couple of hours, wouldn't you? If you knew that you had to get 20 no's before you get a yes, you'd rattle through them straight away, and that's the kind of trial one that goes, cool, okay, we failed. But I've also, because having employees and things, I've got to realise that not everybody's built the same way as me. And a lot of people would take the significant knockback and failure I had as a really bad way. And what I've learned is it's understanding the people that I work with, and understand that they're built different. Firstly, it's not their business and it's not their life calling. It could just be a job for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I can't expect them to give everything and their heart and soul. And to be fair, I think they do. But I think it's understanding that people are built different. And sometimes actually when people do lose on a big deal or something does appear to be falling around them, before you start helping them pick themselves up again, you've got to allow them the time to grieve. And that's been a really important lesson I've learned.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and there's definitely something in that. And just like you said, it's just the whole learning process of getting a no, and it's built, because what it does is build resilience, right? And again, back to both of us, if we can teach our kids this, that, you know, like you talk about grafting and trying to teach your kids to work hard. I've got to share this story with you about, so that the kids wanted to get this is getting back to these lessons I'm trying to teach them around resilience, and trying to get they come to me, they're both love horse riding, never been on a horse, but they love it, they really love it, and they watch programs on it. They want these Lemure horses, these toys, 60 quid each. I'm like, yeah, okay, you have them for your birthday maybe. No, we want them before then. You want them before then, you go and make some money then. Okay. Yeah. So they got there a couple of months back, they got all their old toys, put them together, went down the beach hut, set up on a stall. I used my gun thing, we priced them all, and they both had, I said, right, you got to sell them then. They'd done a little bit for Rocking Horse, and they had to stand there almost at a market stall, and they're going, all these people walking past, and they're going, big beach sale, toys for sale, 20% to Rocking Horse Children's Charity. And I had my card thing for the business.
Really?
Like, cash and card payments. Honestly, I was in bits. But you know, I could not have been prouder of them.
Yep.
Just showing. And they got it. They done it 3 weekends in a row. They made 60 quid. They got enough money to do it. And I said to them, if you get to that, when they started, I said, if you get to the 60 quid, I'll double it. So I'll get you one each. And they've done it. They got to the 60 quid. And I'm like, I love things like that. I think that next generation, I want to teach them that, because we're living in a society, I think me and you spoke about again on the podcast, you know, Amazon, I want that, bang, get it.
Yeah.
It's there the next day. They don't even, there's no delayed gratification, there's none of that. So I'm trying to, hopefully there's some lessons in that thing. And actually, the amount of people that come up to him, back to just the original point, was the amount of people that come up to him was like, yeah, no, we're not going to buy. I said, look, that don't matter. Out of them 20 people that go past, one of them's going to stop and say, yeah, I will buy it. And they did. They stood there a few times. They both got videos of them both shouting it out, and people just walking past, not even acknowledging them. And I'm like, this is part of it. You just got to keep going, and there will be someone that comes up and buys it. And they did. They got there in the end. But yeah, it's such a valuable lesson that I think we don't maybe teach kids enough of that at that age.
Yeah, I love it. And I think certainly my childhood was kind of quite similar. So if I wanted, I loved Jordan. Jordan was my hero, and the house is surrounded. In fact, I think my kids' first words were Michael Jordan. Um, and I think maybe one of the reasons I love his train, but first the athlete. I was a big basketball fan, and I loved him as an athlete. And then I said about the trainers, and I think because the reason why I have such though they mean these trainers mean so much to me. So I'll order a pair of Jordans, and when they come arrive, I can't even wear them for about 3 months. I just open the box and go, well, they're really nice. Love to put them away. I think sometimes because I'm 44 years old and I don't think I can rock a pair of Jordan 6s in black and PVC. But
You can pull
I
that off.
think
You can pull that off.
but I think it's part of because when I was a kid, my parents would go, right, you need a new pair of trainers. Here's 20 quid. And they go, right, but I want the Jordans, they're 100. They're like, you need to find that gap. You've got to find that gap. And I would try and find any single way to find that. I ended up starting a car washing round that I found out with my mates. We used to do the car washing round. It was like fiver inside, fiver outside, right? But all my mates, the other guy I used to do it with, was too scared to knock on the door. So in the end, I would go around and knock on the doors and say, we'd like your car washed with just two cars and basically blagging it as a 12-year-old kid. We're just going to come up the road. We've done a really good service for Sally up the road there. She's told me to come and knock on your door because you're probably likely to sort of support young people trying to earn the money for themselves. And I went, oh, yeah, of course we would. So I realised that I then said that, do you know what? We'll split it 50-50. You guys, I think there was 4 or 5 of us in the end. There was 5 of us. So the 4 guys would wash the cars. I'll go around and knock on the doors and I'll get 50%. So I think part of me was being a lazy shit. Yeah, smart, not harder. So I'd knock on the doors and do the sales pitch. And then, mate, looking back, I think as a 12-year-old kid, I was earning about 150 quid a weekend sometimes.
Amazing.
So I would remember going, it wasn't, obviously the internet wasn't around that day. So I was sitting on bed going, what kind of Ferrari shop I should get? 'Cause I can't be far off getting a Ferrari, having no understanding of the value of money. Like, do you know, it should be a helicopter then. Maybe a helicopter's are better now. Do you know, generally having these thoughts about whether you should buy a helicopter or a Ferrari because you don't know the value. But I think that's why I love that story of your daughters because it's actually getting that spark in that little entrepreneurial spirit. It doesn't have to go; it can go out really quickly. But it's that when they do find it, it's nurturing that bit. And the fact you had a card machine on, they go, "Yeah, we'll take cash or card for my second-hand toy."
There was this one dad. He walked along with his little daughter, and she picked up this thing. She went, and I heard him go, oh, "No, come on, we haven't got any cash, so we'll go." And then Sienna's like, "Oh no, it's okay. We take card payments." And then he tried to ignore it, so he went, oh, "Come on, we haven't got any. Come, let's go. We haven't got any cash." And then Lucy pops in and goes, "No. Sorry, we definitely take card payments. If you've got a card." And he went, I went, "Sorry, mate." 15 quid later, he's stuck in the car.
We take Apple Pay as well. We've got Apple Pay as well. Daddy, you can use your Apple Pay on your phone. When you go to the pub, you pay on your phone. Why can't you buy a toy here? They're smart kids nowadays, mate.
Mate, it was priceless. It was priceless. Yeah, that was a proud moment. I'm not going to lie.
Mate, I love it. So obviously this podcast is about people just starting. And we try and tell stories and give people a comfort that they're going to go through the journeys and things. But if you were sitting in a room, because obviously I know you're trying to kind of give back to the future generation and trying to get them to understand things. If you're sitting in a room full of sort of 12 to 14-year-old kids, and you're on stage, you've asked them to talk on that, and these were full of room of kids who showed that entrepreneurial spirit or had an idea, what would be the first thing you would tell them to do? Get a proper job.
Yeah. Don't go down this route.
Yeah. So
Yes. Mate, I think again back to what the whole essence of the podcast is about. My thing would be just start. I'd want them to ask themselves a few questions. Why are they doing it? That, you know, you've got to have a why for everything
Yes.
you do. We know that. I think as we've got older, we've probably learned the harder way and through failures and other stuff. But we've got, whatever you're doing in life, whether you want to run a marathon, swim the channel, start a business, whatever them things are, you've got to have a why and a purpose, because actually on all them journeys, there's going to be tough points. There's going to be things where you go, you don't want to do that. But if you've got a really good why, the reason that you're doing it, a purpose for doing it, that will get you through those tough times. I think that's something that I'd really want them to take away. But the other thing, we spoke a lot about failure. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to give it a go and it not work out. And because I will guarantee all of them that they will learn something from that thing. And something that I know I've shared a few times on posts and in podcasts and stuff around I know this is a younger generation, but you know, the one thing for me as an adult and as an entrepreneur, someone that's I don't want to get to my deathbed and look back and have that question, what if? So I often use the thing, Denzel Washington said it brilliantly, about the ghosts of your future potential.
Yeah.
You're sitting on your deathbed and you're surrounded by the ghosts of the dreams that you didn't follow, the opportunities you didn't take up, and they're all there and they're angry. They're standing there and they're angry with you, and they're going, we was there, we was ready to jump with you, we was ready to start that, and now we're just gonna go to your deathbed with you. We're just gonna go to the grave with you. Like, ask yourself that question: how many ghosts are going to be around your deathbed when your time comes? For me, there's something really special in that, because I will try lots of things and I've failed many, many times. And I'll continue to do so probably till the day I die. But I'm pretty confident there's not going to be that many ghosts around my deathbed. And I'm okay with that.
I think that's fantastic. I love that. And there's a similar thing, and I don't think it was Denzel Washington that said it, but there was something very similar. And it was like, you go to the pearly gates of heaven, and there's God waiting there, and you're going, you know, what's happened? And he goes, this is what I had planned for you. And he shows you what he had planned for your life, for you just taking that one chance. Do you know what I mean? And in fact, I answered this question on stage once, and it said, how do you kind of get through life? Why do you have to do all these things? What's the journey like? I'm like, I think your journey in life is to find that one thing. God made everyone with the best in the world at something. And the reason why you go to school, and the reason why you try to do all these other things, football, basketball, golf, fishing, maths, the reason why you do all these different things when you're young and go to school is it's your search for that one thing. Because when you find that one thing, everything else doesn't matter. You kind of become so focused on that one thing. And it's almost your obligation to the world to find that one thing, because that one thing could change people's lives. You know, if you were, you didn't want to do science at school, and all of a sudden you found the cure for cancer. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit dramatic, but finding that one thing, it's almost your obligation as a human being to find that one thing that you're an expert at, or the best in the world at, because that can change the best. That could be the missing piece for another piece of the world and part of the plan that we have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I really love that. I really love that. I will push back on that a little bit, and just because there is something. I spoke to Bud about it, who said, he said actually we can all maybe be more than one thing, in the sense that because there is the potential that sometimes that narrative can force people to go, oh, where do I've got to find something. I've got to find something. I think back to so much of like what me and you shared, and certainly I think actually almost not finding that one thing, but almost maybe finding the values, maybe in the values of that thing, whatever that looks like, maybe. And then, because if you're defined by, like, if I'm defined now as a podcaster or an entrepreneur, what happens when I stop that? What happens when something happens and I don't do that anymore? What does that mean? I'm less of a person, or I've failed and I'm not a success, or any of them things? But actually, if again back to that living in alignment with those values, maybe that is the one thing that we need to promote, and the one thing that we need to find is just find what their values are, not maybe. And it's just another perspective on it. Just another
Yes.
perspective on it.
Well, that's why we're here to talk, right? So I think
Yeah, yeah,
for me, that one thing doesn't mean I need to be a footballer. It's not a career thing. It's not a career thing where I need to be the best podcaster or the best CEO of a fashion business or whatever.
yeah,
It's not that one thing. It's the one thing is maybe parent. I'm here to be the best parent in the world. And then it's all the offshoots. So what does it mean to be a best parent? It's got to be kind. You've got to be loving. You need to discipline them. You need to give them
yeah. I love
opportunities.
that.
You need to feel safe. So maybe actually incorporating your thing is a really interesting point of view because I never thought of it like that before. Maybe that one thing is kind of your narrative to your life. You know, maybe your one thing, my one thing is I want to use technology to make the world a better place, more inclusive and forgiving. And rather than you either with me or against me that you're on socials at the moment, there's a great bit where we can meet in the middle and we can go, actually, rather than me jumping to assumptions, which people do in the comment section and responses and stuff, maybe there's a place in there that we can meet because you can't be like that because of the moderation and stuff. Maybe that's my one thing is I want to make the world a better place with technology. There's lots of offshoots that can be, which is being the authentic self.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it. And I just think like, because there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure on kids, especially like, 'cause again, back to my story, I'll go back to that bit when I weren't going to become a footballer. I was so lost, didn't know what that. So if you had said to me then, back at 18, like, just go and find that one thing, I'm like, I fucking don't know what that one. I don't know. Where do I find it? What is it? Do I go to the shops? Do I look online?
Yeah.
Where do I find this one thing that I'm going to be good at, or I'm going to, and I think that there's just a narrative out there that could be. I think sometimes people can struggle, but I like the reframing of it and going, actually, just it hasn't got to be the one thing that you're going to change the world with. It might just be the one thing. I'm going to go through my life and I'm going to be a really kind, good person, and maybe for some people that is enough, and that's a great thing. I don't know. I'm just chucking scenarios out there, I guess. But
My sort of situation on that is that it's taken me 40 odd years to find out what I think I'm here for. So that one thing can change. Like the one thing for you was being a footballer, then there was the hairdressing. But it's having conviction of the passion that comes behind. Once you find that one thing was the hairdressing thing, you threw everything, worked 7 days a week, travelled on a motorbike. That one thing was your purpose. It didn't work out, but it's been your biggest lesson in your life. So that's kind of that's where my thought process was going with it. Find that one thing at that moment. And you're focused on that and delivering that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Mate, good times.
Nice, man. Right, so one last question. Obviously, we mentioned about being resilient and when times are hard. What do you do? Is there a quote? Is there a phrase? When you're going through a rough patch, is there sort of something you repeat to yourself or something you do to kind of get you through it? What's the sort of process you go through?
There's something that's got me through so much, and I love this phrase and I've used it a lot, but this too shall pass.
Yes.
This too shall pass. Like for me, and that means actually not only getting me through bad times, but being self-aware enough to know that when the good, like I'm talking to you now, oh mate, I'm still buzzing from that 100th episode. I'm on a high at the moment. Things are really good. I'm conscious, this feeling and where I am right this second, this too shall pass, right? But because I'm aware of that, the same as when I was in December and I weren't feeling great, same when I can go back to lots of times that I've struggled. I've now got this tool bank, I've got this toolkit and these resources that I can tap into where I can go, I know, I've been through it and I knew that passed. This too shall pass, and it has passed. And we get up and we go, and again, I've got my health, I wake up every day. That's enough, right? That is enough. And I think that is probably for anyone, wherever you are, whatever part of this journey through that we're navigating through life, just remember that where you are right now, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
That will get us through.
Nice one, mate. Well, Sam, I know you're a busy man, so Sam Thomas, aka the Podfather, aka Mr. Brighton. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, and hopefully I'll be in and around for number 200 for your episode, and I look forward to having a part in, mate. I love what you're doing with your podcast. If there's anything I can do to help with my network and how we reframe success, you know I've got your back, brother.
Oh, mate, look, you've got that shirt behind you with Gilberto, and that I got the opportunity to speak to him, right, and he formed part of the 100th episode, and to have the access to a chat to a World Cup winner as a football fan was amazing. So I was grateful for that. And mate, same back at you. I love the stuff you're doing. I love the fact that you've started a podcast, and I love the just start, right? And you've done it. You've just started. You're out there and you're doing it, and it's brilliant. So I love the stuff you're doing. You, as I said to you on my podcast, you're making the world a better place, mate. So keep doing what you're doing.
God bless you, mate. Thanks for coming. And so we'll put in that if you want to see more about Sam, I'll put a link to his social and his website. If you're interested in him, get in touch with him. What's the best way of getting in touch with you, Sam?
Mate, either LinkedIn, Sam Thomas on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Sam_Thomas at DH. Go to the Different Hats website and all my details on there. Sign up to our newsletter. So yeah, I'll hope put them in the notes, and yeah, it'd be great to speak to anyone.
Beautiful. Nice one, Sam. Take care, my man.
Ledge. All the best, mate.
This episode of Just Starts is powered by Alloy Collectors. Football fans, it's time to level up your merch. Alloy Collectors transforms football jerseys into premium metal collectibles, because true fans deserve more than just another scarf or mug. Get 15% off with code JUSTSTART and grab a limited edition Just Start X Alloys tee. Plus, score a chance to attend a private exclusive event with some of the biggest names in UK football.